Hi everyone. The World Cup's about to come to an end, and I'm just doing some reviews on certain teams and certain nations on how they've performed, and quite a few talked about nations. But a team that gets mentioned a lot in terms of their performance in this year's World Cup, in terms of being underachievers, is Brazil. And a lot of people say that they're underachievers, and they've underachieved for a couple World Cups, and they've underachieved in this World Cup because of because they have won the most World Cups, 5 World Cups, and they've qualified for every single World Cup, which is an amazing achievement. And they're a football loving nation, beautiful people that are from Brazil, and they've produced some amazing players. But have they really underachieved? I don't think they actually have underachieved in as much as what people think they have. It's just that, in the last 20 years, their team collectively hasn't been as talented as the teams that have gone on to win the World Cups. They just haven't. They've produced great players that have won things for their clubs, but collectively as a whole, they have not been good enough. They have not been as good, not been as talented as the teams that have won the World Cup. Like in 2010, was the Brazil side as good as the Spain side that won the World Cup? No. 2014, everyone knows what happened there, but 2018, was the Brazil team that year as good as the France team that won the World Cup? No, they weren't. In 2022, in Argentina, when Argentina won the World Cup, was that Brazilian team of that year as good as the Argentina team that won it that year? No. Were they as good as France that made the final? No. And the Brazilian team this year, were they as good as the Argentina or the Spain team? No. Even the semi-finalists, England and France, they're better teams collectively than England, France, and collectively than Brazil. So I'm sorry, but should Brazil as a nation be producing better quality teams? That could be an argument. And, I'm not an expert on Brazilian football. So, with the nation with that population, hopefully they can produce those quality teams, because their last World Cup was 2002, 24 years ago. And to put that into context, there's 5 other nations that have won the World Cup more recently. Some have. I'm just trying to think. And after Sunday's final between Spain and Argentina, one of them would have won it twice since Brazil last won their World Cup. And also Italy, who have missed out on 3 World Cups consecutively, have won the World Cup more recently than Brazil. And and so they just, unfortunately, they just haven't produced a team that is the best team in the world, or in the best 2 teams in the world. And even that, their only semi-final appearance in 2014 against Germany, obviously it was very sad what happened to them. Then they got smashed 7-1 against a really amazing Germany team. People were saying that they should have been favourites for that tournament, but I knew back then, when I was a lot younger, that they weren't going to win it. They weren't going to win it, unfortunately. And they were very lucky to make the semi-finals. I think that team that was out there, they did very well to get to the semi-finals, considering the team that they had, considering what was at their disposal. And against Chile in the round of 16, Chile had some very clear-cut opportunities and could have easily won that match. And I feel really bad for the Chile team. They've also missed out on 3 consecutive World Cups. They were a very promising team in the early to mid-2010s, winning 2 back-to-back Copa Americas. But they've unfortunately dropped off. But yeah, Chile could have easily have beaten Brazil in that round of 16 tie. And against Colombia in the quarterfinals, Colombia I thought were the better team. And in that 2014 side, their manager at the time, Luis Felipe Scolari, was very adamant about sticking with the same starting lineup that won the Confederations Cup a year earlier. I think they beat I think it was Spain 3-0 in the Confederations Cup. For those younger viewers, the Confederations Cup was a tournament before the World Cup that hasn't been held for a while, but it was held on, which was in the host country of the World Cup, where the world champions, the hosts, and the continental champions, so the winners of the Euro, the most recent winners of the Euro, Asian Cup, Copa America, um, the Gold Cup, the African Cup of Nations, and the Oceania Cup would play off against each other in a mini pre-World Cup tournament, but that tournament hasn't been held for a while. But yeah, Brazil won that 3-0 against Spain, and Scolari was just adamant about sticking to that same starting 11, and he left out such great attacking players such as Coutinho and Roberto Firmino, who were better than most of the attackers that he selected and have gone on to win Premier Leagues and Champions League titles since. Coutinho won the Champions League with Bayern Munich in 2020. So any Liverpool fans that are correcting me, I'm aware that he left before Liverpool's Champions League win in 2019 and Liverpool's title wins. But yeah, and he also left out several several Atletico Madrid defenders who Atletico Madrid the season before won the La Liga title. They beat a Real Madrid and Barcelona teams with a prime Ronaldo and Messi that were both under the age of 30 at that time. So those Atletico Madrid defenders won the La Liga against two amazing club sides, and Real Madrid actually won the Champions League that season as well, ironically defeating Atletico. And he left those players out. And I know I've rambled on a little bit about the 2014 team, but the point I'm trying to make is, if he had selected those players, they probably wouldn't have lost 7-1 to Germany. They would have lost to Germany, but they wouldn't have lost as badly. And I think even in the second half of that game, it could have actually been a lot worse because Germany just they scored 5 first half goals, and I think they were just preparing for the World Cup final in the latter stages of that match. So yeah, but the point I'm trying to make is Brazil just haven't had a quality team that has been good enough to win the World Cup in the last 20 years, and I'm so sorry for Brazilian fans. It would be very hard. I feel for them because, yeah, most people under 30 wouldn't remember Brazil winning the World Cup, and I barely remember it. That was the 2002 was the first World Cup that I watched when they beat Germany in the final. That Brazilian team was absolutely amazing. They had some amazing players all across the pitch. And I will say it's also a shame that the World Cup that Brazil hosted in 2014 wasn't like a really good team. It wasn't one of those golden age teams previously. It just seemed a little bit strange that there was a 64-year gap from 1950 to 2014 where Brazil hosted the tournament. It seemed like the gap should have been a lot shorter. And yeah, it seemed a little bit bizarre that the gap was so big. But it's just a shame that, yeah, they didn't get to see Brazilians haven't seen their team, one of those great teams, win it on home soil. But anyway, moving forward for Brazil, what can they do? Yeah, a lot of managers have got the blame, and maybe tactical decisions they may have gotten that wrong. But yeah, as I mentioned, the side just hasn't had the quality to win World Cups. I guess they just have to review their academies and just start producing players that are world class. And there's definitely opportunities for them and for anyone, given that Messi's this might probably be his last World Cup, and and if any team, any nation, especially Brazil, can produce like a really high caliber, quality 2 or 3 attacking players, they could go very, very far in tournaments. So, all the best to Brazilians. Let me know what you think, and hopefully your academies can start producing those players and producing those teams, so you and your families, your children, grandchildren can see uh, a nation win again. Thank you. Adios. Bye.